Hey everybody, today's video is all about this brand new Beatles box set for the album Revolver. This happens to be the Super Deluxe 4LP edition, and I picked this up on Friday from one of my local record shops. I initially had pre-ordered this through the Target website, but then as it got closer to the release date, I saw that it wasn't going to be shipped until like November 3rd or something like that. So I canceled that and went to one of my local record shops, asked if they were going to get these in, and he said they were, and then I was able to actually reserve a copy. So then on release day, I just showed up and picked this up. So I was glad to, first of all, support a local record shop because I think that's really important. And I almost always try to get new releases from one of my local record shops. I have about 3 really good record stores out here where I live. And I just feel like it's important to support the local record shops, but that's pretty obvious, right? So anyway, picked it up from one of my local record shops. And so I've had this since Friday, and today happens to be Sunday evening, getting into evening. And so I've had the whole weekend to listen to this, and I just got to give a quick shout out to my wife, Katie, for putting up with just my insane Beatles obsession. And when I say I've been listening to this nonstop, I really have, and that means she has as well. So, by the way, I should add that she's a huge Beatle fan as well, and was also excited about the box set. So, but just maybe not as insane about it as I've been. Anyway, big thank you to her. And what I'm going to do in this video is just give you my initial thoughts on the new remix done by Giles Martin, the stereo remix of the main album. I'll talk about the sessions, some of my favorite highlights from the sessions, and I'll also talk about the mono album that's included in this box set and compare it to the 2012 version of the mono album that was included in the Beatles mono box set. And I'll also talk about the EP and the book as well. But first off, let's get everything out of the box. And one thing you might notice is that I've placed all of my, here's the book, by the way, I'm going to put it over here. I've placed all of the records in individual plastic sleeves because I realized that this box is a little bit thin when you slide the records in. It's really tight in there, and I was getting kind of worried that they were going to get damaged, so I just put them in sleeves. I've never done that before with any of my box sets, but this time I did. So if you see the plastic sleeves on there, you might wonder, why didn't mine include that? It's because I'd added that on. Anyway, let's stick the box over here, and we will first talk about this stereo remix of the album done by Giles Martin, son of George Martin. And I gotta say that initially, I listened to this now all the way through about 4 times. The very first listen that I gave to this, I didn't quite like it that much. And usually when I listen to the remixes done by Giles, I've always kind of had a good feeling right away. Like with the Sgt. Pepper, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the Abbey Road remix. I really liked the White Album remix a lot. The Let It Be remix was great as well. With this one, it was different. And I'm not sure if that's because with this one they used that demixing technology, and maybe that kind of has created some just extra jarring audio artifacts or something like that I was picking up on. I don't know, but I will say that the first initial listen, I was left a little bit perplexed, is what I will say. Didn't really know if I hated it or if I loved it or what. Then on the second and third listens, I started to appreciate it more, and today I listened to it for the 4th time, and I really, really liked it. Now, it has some problems, in my opinion. I'm going to go over some of those right now. But first off, let's go track by track. The first song on here is Taxman, and this is definitely a highlight of the remixes. It really has a great punch to it. It packs a punch, amazing clarity, and the drums, first of all, the drums throughout on this remix, as on pretty much all of the Beatles remixes, the drums now shine. And as the motorcycle goes whizzing by, it's Sunday afternoon here, folks, or evening rather, getting into evening. Anyway, the drums on Taxman and the rest of the album they really, really sound great. And I think the drums were always kind of lacking, in my opinion, on all of the prior versions of Revolver, the stereo mix and the mono mix. They really, really shine through on this remix, and I think that's really, really a good thing. The one negative thing I'll say about Taxman is I think the bass is a little bit too much. It just seems a little bit overdone. And that kind of goes for the whole remix in general as far as the bass. It just seems like Giles likes to add a lot of low end, and I get that he's trying to make these sound really modern, and a lot of modern recordings have a lot of low end. So maybe that's what he's going for, but it just doesn't feel right to me sometimes. Now, sometimes it actually helps the track, but I think on Taxman it's just a little bit too much for me. That being said, like I said, Taxman is definitely a highlight of the remixes. The next song is Eleanor Rigby, and it's stunning. I think this remix is great. Here comes Bob to say hello. Okay. So Eleanor Rigby on here, it's stunning. It sounds really great. It has a really wide stereo image. The strings are really spread out over the left and the right speakers, and the vocal, Paul's vocal, is just right in your face, and it just sounds great. Everything is just really, really stunning. So I think Eleanor Rigby sounds great on this. I'm Only Sleeping. It's a little bit weird for me. This one seemed a little chaotic is how I would describe this remix. Again, the bass is just really overblown on this song for me. It's just too much. And there's just something that's a little off with this remix of I'm Only Sleeping. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if my expectations were high or whatever, but it just didn't quite do it for me. I will say a good thing about it, I think the drums, again, sound great on this. You can really hear the snare on I'm Only Sleeping, and it sounds wonderful. The next song, Love You Too, sounds great. Again, the stereo image is really, really wide. They really have a big... The panning is really, really good, really wide, and that makes it really nice. It's almost kind of... I think what I wrote in my notes for this was that Love You Too was really dynamic, which is obviously a good thing. And yeah, just overall, I like this remix of Love You Too. Next up is Here, There, and Everywhere, and this is just absolutely stunning. It really, really sparkles now. It always sparkled before, but it really has such clarity, and the vocals are just sublime. And the way he has them spread out over the stereo image is super, super nice. So Here, There, and Everywhere, really, really, I love it on this one, on this remix. Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine, to me, this was the one song on this album that it just doesn't sound all that different from the version that I'm used to hearing, the stereo version. It does include, like the mono version, it does include the bits that were taken out of the original stereo version, where John's in the background singing Life of Ease, every one of us is only that. Those bits, those are back here now in this stereo version, but that's really the only big difference that I hear. So really, it's just okay for me as far as the remix goes. Here we go. This next song, She Said, She Said, this is what's bizarre to me. So I've been listening to the streaming version of this album, or of this box set, I should say, and the streaming version, the digital version, now I don't know what the CD box set is like, but I can just talk about the streaming version. The streaming version on Spotify, the version of She Said, She Said, the remix, is different than the mix that's on this vinyl box set. Listen to that again. The version of the remix of She Said, She Said on Spotify is different than this one on the vinyl box set. How do I know that? Because if you listen on the streaming version, there's a guitar part that Giles has remixed in the left channel that's all on its own, and it sounds really naked and weird. It actually cuts in and out at some point as well. And that guitar part, actually, it cuts in and out as well on the streaming version. But on this remix version on the vinyl box set, that guitar part has been put back where it belongs with the other guitars on the right side. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but that is exactly what's going on. which tells me that there are two different remixed versions of She Said, She Said. Now, there might be two different remixed versions of the whole album, maybe on the streaming and on the vinyl box set. I don't know. But all I know is it's not a mastering difference. It's definitely a mixing difference, because that guitar on the streaming version, it's on the left side, and on this version, it's on the right side. And it's a big difference maker for me, because I like the She Said, She Said remix on this vinyl box set. I think it sounds really, really good. On the streaming version, it doesn't sound all that good. There's a lot of issues with it, and I think a lot of people have been talking about it, how they don't like it. But I think this is something that's going to come to light in the next couple of weeks here. Like, a lot of people are going to start discovering that this version of She Said, She Said on the vinyl box set is different. And I'm excited to dive into that and get to the bottom of what exactly is going on. But that's my initial take on She Said, She Said. Moving on to Good Day Sunshine. This is another highlight. It sounds great. It's definitely been improved upon as far as this remix. The drums are come through on this song now. The piano sounds wonderful. Really, really nice. And Your Bird Can Sing sounds really good to me. It doesn't sound all that different from the stereo version that we're really all used to hearing, but it sounds good on this remixed version. For No One is another highlight. I love the way Giles has taken the piano part and the clavichord part, both played by Paul. They're both keyboard instruments, of course, and he's panned them now. So the piano is way over here and the clavichord's way over here, and it just makes the track sound really, really nice. So For No One is a big improvement for me as well. Dr. Robert is the next song on here. So Dr. Robert, kind of like I'm Only Sleeping on This, there's just something weird about this remix for me. It seems to kind of lack the punch that I'm used to hearing on the mono and stereo versions that we all know and love. There's just something kind of weird going on there. I don't know if it's with the guitars or with the drums or whatever, or maybe the bass is just a little too loud, but it's missing something for me. The one good thing I can say about it is the vocals are now really up front, which is cool to hear, because the vocals are doing a lot of really interesting stuff. And on the older versions that we're used to hearing, the original mixes, the vocals were a little bit buried. So it's interesting to hear them really, really up front on this new remix. I Want to Tell You sounds excellent on this. Again, some of the really key features of the track, like the guitar riff, are so crystal clear and just really, really cut through and sound great. So I really like the remix of I Want to Tell You on this. Got to Get You Into My Life. This is a song that I've always kind of disliked the original mixes of it. The drums were always so buried, the guitars were buried, and on this version that Giles has made, it really shines. It sounds great. The horns are in stereo, the drums come pounding through, the guitars sound great. It really is an excellent, excellent version. Here comes Bob the cat. It really just sounds excellent on here, and I just love this remix of Got to Get You Into My Life. Really, really, really nice. Tomorrow Never Knows. It's not all that different from the version that we're all used to hearing, other than on this remix version, he takes all the tape loops and does a lot of stereo panning with them, which I think is kind of okay, but it seems a little distracting to me. So overall, I don't love the new remix of Tomorrow Never Knows. So those are my initial thoughts on the remix of Revolver, the stereo remix. I would say overall, I do like what Giles has done, but it doesn't rank high up there with the remixes he's done in the past as far as all the new box sets. It's pretty low for me on the if I had to rank them, but that's just right now. My opinion could change over time. So those are my thoughts on the stereo remix. Let's move on to the sessions. Now, this is definitely my favorite part of any of the Beatles box sets. I love the sessions. I love the outtakes. That's pretty much why I buy the boxes, because this is the gold for me. And this does not disappoint. There are some really, really amazing revelations from these sessions. And instead of going through every single take on here or track on here, I'm just going to give you the highlights of this for me, some of the stuff that I really, really loved. First off, the version of Got to Get You Into My Life, which is track 4 on side 1 of the first disc, and it's called Got to Get You Into My Life, second version, unnumbered mix, is amazing. It absolutely blew me away. It's so different from the released version. It has a lot more guitars, doesn't have any, the horns have not been overdubbed onto this version yet. Paul's vocal is completely different. There are different backing vocals from John and George, and it just is amazing. I absolutely love it. If you haven't heard it yet, go find it. It is big time highlight for me on this Sessions record. Really, really great. Another really big highlight is Love You Too, Take 1, which is just George on acoustic guitar with Paul singing a little bit of harmony. Really, really cool to hear it in this way. And it really shows you just how good of a song it actually is. Because it's actually, like, as far as the chord structure of it, it's a pretty simple song. And the way George sings it is a simple way, but it just works. There's just something special about it, and I really like this acoustic early take of it. Another highlight for me on this Sessions record is the second version called Take 5 of And Your Bird Can Sing. It's very, very different from the one we're used to hearing, and it's kind of like Got to Get Into My Life, that take that I like a lot. It's just so different, and it kind of presents the song in a new way. And I really, 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 really like that. Let's see. The next really big revelation on here, and I'm sure a lot of you already know about this, is the Yellow Submarine. They call it Songwriting Work Tape, Part 1 and Part 2. This is John singing alternate lyrics and an early demo version of the verse to Yellow Submarine. So this is a revelation because I think most of us thought that Paul wrote nearly all of Yellow Submarine, but really, based off of this demo tape that we're hearing on here, it was totally a co-write with John and Paul. And this session tape is fascinating. If you're a Beatle freak, and you probably are if you're watching this video, this is going to blow your mind. It's really, really cool to hear, and it's something you're going to want to listen to a lot. I've listened to that particular session tape there, or demo tape, like probably close to like 8 times already, and each time I find something new about it that I really, really like. So very, very cool. The other highlight for me here is And Revelation, is the last track on here. She Said, Take 15, backing track rehearsal. First of all, it sounds great and it's cool to hear, but the revelation here is that Paul is playing bass on this track. And for those of you who don't know, Paul, he collaborated on a book called Many Years From Now, which was basically an authorized biography on Paul's life, written with his friend Barry Miles. And in that book, he talks about how on She Said, it's one of the only Beatles songs that he doesn't play bass on, because they had an argument and he walked out of the session, and he says that George played the bass. But really, what comes to light here is that Paul is playing the bass on the backing track, and that he probably walked out after the backing track was already made. He walked out during the overdubs, because he is not featured on the overdubs at all. The overdubs are just George and John singing together, with lots of guitar overdubs and some organ overdub as well. But the bass is definitely Paul, and it's cool to get that revelation, because I always was convinced that it was George playing bass on She Said. So very, very cool outtake. But overall, the Sessions record, this double record, is wonderful. It's, like I said, this is the gold for me of the box set. Now I'm reaching in here because in the gatefold, which the gatefold, by the way, is very, very cool. Within the gatefold, I have placed the EP. This is, and I put a plastic sleeve on this as well. This EP has Paperback Writer and Rain on one side, the new stereo remixes of those, and the original mono mixes of both the songs as well on the other side. These both sound really good to me. I don't think they sound all that different Rain is probably the highlight of the stereo remixes between Paperback Writer and Rain. I'd say Rain is the highlight just because you do get to hear a lot more clarity in the mix. And overall, I think Giles did a really good job. That being said, I think it's kind of silly that they included this EP, just because it seems kind of weird to just throw this in to the box. But obviously, I'll take it. And I will say that if I had ordered the CD box set and I got this EP just with 4 tracks on a separate CD, that would really bother me. So I'm glad I got the vinyl version, and at least you get a unique EP here. So, and by the way, this does play at 45 RPM, so sounds good. And yeah, not much to say about it. And I will also add, it does get a little annoying putting this in the box because it does rattle around in there. So I'm glad I put it in this plastic sleeve to kind of protect it a little bit more. Sorry, my camera ran out of space. So this is the mono record that is included in this box. And this is a direct transfer from the original mono master tape. And it's supposedly transferred, it's an all analog transfer, which is really, really good. Much like this mono record from the mono box set released in 2012, also an all analog pressing. And what I did was I wanted to compare these two, and they sound really, really, really similar. The one thing I'll say is I think this one from the new box here, from this Revolver box, is a little bit louder and maybe has a little bit more low end. Now, I don't know if that is how the original mono master tape is or was or whatever. I don't know if that's just, this is the truer version or if this is the truer version. I don't know. To my ears, though, I guess if I had to say which one was better, I actually probably would maybe go with this one from the new box. I haven't really listened to this enough. I just listened to, I A-B'd both of these. I listened to Taxman on side 1, and I listened to Tomorrow Never Knows on side 2. Those were my 2 like test songs. And I think I just enjoyed Taxman and Tomorrow Never Knows on this new mono transfer compared to this one. But that being said, they're so similar. If you have either one of these, you have a great mono version of Revolver. So that's good news, because I think one of the main things missing in the last couple of Beatles box sets, especially Sgt. Pepper and the White Album, is that they didn't include the mono versions on vinyl, the original mono mixes of those albums, and I really think they should have. But that's a small criticism. So yeah, the mono record sounds great, and I really, really like it. Now, the book. The book is a little on the thin side, I will say. It kind of reminds me of the Sgt. Pepper book in the length of it, but it's really, really good. Has a lot of great information and a lot of great photos. And actually, I was a little worried about the essay by Questlove, who's drummer from the band The Roots and a drummer from The Tonight Show. I actually like him a lot as a musician and as a person. I think he's a very smart guy and a great musician. But I was a little worried. I was like, well, why is he writing an essay for the Beatles' Revolver? But actually, I really like what he wrote in here. He has some really cool insights, and just it was overall just a very interesting read. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And everything else in here is great as well. Does it rank high amongst all the Beatle box sets books? No, it ranks pretty low for me. I think my favorite book, hands down, is the White Album book that came with the Deluxe edition CD box set. That book is just amazing. It's got so much information. I also really liked the book that came with Abbey Road, another fantastic one. This Revolver one, while it's not as amazing as those, it's still really, really good and worth getting the box set just for the book. Honestly, the books in these are always a big highlight. So overall, this box set I really, really like it. And I'm so glad that I got it, because a lot of people online, as I'm sure a lot of you were reading, were really being pretty negative about this box set, saying, you know, it's too expensive, which I do agree that I think it is too expensive. But that's just kind of how it is. Everything is too expensive these days, not just records. Everything in life is too expensive. So you can't really blame them, I guess, for... By the way, I'm trying to put this record back in the sleeve. Pretty annoying. I'll do that some other time. Anyway, yes, the box set was kind of expensive, but do I think it was worth the price of it? No, I don't think it's worth the big price, but I will say that I am really glad I got it. I have really been enjoying it. I'm going to continue to enjoy it. So I will eventually get everything out of it, and yeah, I think you will too. If you like the Beatles, and I mean you do if you're watching this video, then this box set is absolutely essential. So once again, the Beatles have done a fantastic job, and yeah, what more can I say? It's great. Go out and pick it up. So I'd love to know in the comments below what you think about this box set, and of course I'd love to know which of the versions of this box set you got. Did you get the CD version? Did you just get the standalone record, or did you get the 2 LP edition? I would love to know. Anyway, that's it for now, and hope you're all doing well. Bye for now.